The auction hall's lights flicker once, twice, then steady into a sickly amber glow. Lot 47 sits under a dust-stained spotlight, a school portrait in a tarnished silver frame, 25 children arranged in perfect rows like porcelain dolls. Their smiles freeze the room into silence. Ladies and gentlemen, the auctioneer's voice cuts through the hushed whispers. A rare piece from the Rosewood collection. Dated October 1980. October 1980. The month before they all vanished, Emma Chen. Emma grips her bidding paddle, knuckles white against the polished wood. She studied this photograph in newspaper clippings for 10 years, grainy, pixelated copies that never captured the children's faces clearly. But here, under the auction lights, she can see everything. Tommy Morrison's gap-toothed grin, Sarah's neat braids tied with yellow ribbon. And there, in the back row, her cousin Lily, 8 years old, clutching a worn teddy bear. The bidding starts at $50. Emma raises her paddle. 75 to the lady in red, the auctioneer calls. If you love chilling mysteries, like and subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. A man in the corner raises his hand. 100. Emma counters immediately. 150. The room holds its breath as numbers climb higher, faster. 200, 250, 300. The gavel hovers in the air like a guillotine. Going once, going twice. Emma's heart hammers against her ribs. This portrait is the first real evidence anyone's seen since the disappearance. The first tangible piece of those lost children to surface in a decade of dead ends and cold trails. The gavel falls with a sharp crack that echoes through the hall. Sold to bidder 47 for $300. Emma's hands shake as she signs the paperwork. The portrait feels heavier than it should when they place it in her arms. Not just glass and wood and fading photographic paper, but the weight of 25 missing souls. She turns toward the exit, clutching her prize. But what's hidden in that frame will stop your heart. Rosewood Orphanage stood like a castle on Maple Hill, its red brick walls and towering windows overlooking the town of Cedar Falls for nearly a century. Built in 1895 by railroad magnate Theodore Rosewood, it housed generations of children who had nowhere else to go. By 1980, 25 kids called it home, ages 5 to 16, each with their own story of loss and hope. Sister Margaret ran the place with gentle authority, reading bedtime stories and mending scraped knees. The children attended Cedar Falls Elementary, played in the sprawling backyard garden, and dreamed of families who might choose them. It wasn't perfect, but it was safe. It was home. October 31st, 1980 started like any other Halloween. The children carved pumpkins, planned their trick-or-treat routes, and helped Sister Margaret distribute candy to early visitors. By 8 p.m., all 25 were accounted. 4 tucked into their beds after a sugar-fueled evening of ghost stories and costume parades. At 6 a.m., Sister Margaret discovered every door standing wide open, every bed empty, every child gone, no footprints in the dewy grass, no signs of struggle, no ransom notes or threatening calls. Just silence echoing through empty hallways where laughter once lived. The FBI descended within hours. Search parties combed the surrounding woods for weeks. Bloodhounds followed scent trails that vanished at the property line. Investigators interviewed every adult who'd been on the premises, subjected them to polygraph tests, searched their homes and vehicles. Nothing. The case consumed Cedar Falls for months. Missing person flyers papered every storefront window. Volunteer search teams spent weekends beating through brush and checking abandoned buildings. Psychics arrived from 3 states, claiming visions of underground caverns and distant cities. Still nothing. One by one, the eBay search parties dwindled. The FBI redirected resources to newer cases. The flyers faded and curled at the edges until shop owners quietly removed them. Life moved on, carrying its weight of unanswered questions. But the families never stopped looking. Emma's Aunt Sarah, Lily's mother, spent her life savings hiring private investigators. She plastered social media with age-progressed photos and never missed a child recovery conference. Every Christmas, she set an extra place at the dinner table. Every birthday, she bought a cake and left it untouched on the kitchen counter. 10 years of hope wearing thin like an overused blanket. 10 years of what if, and maybe somewhere, and will never stop searching. The portrait in Emma's arms represents the first crack in that wall of silence. The first whisper that maybe, just maybe, someone knows what happened to those 25 children. Until today, every lead led nowhere. Emma Chen was 3 years old when her cousin Lily disappeared. Too young to understand why Aunt Sarah cried at family dinners. Too young to remember Lily's voice or the way she always shared her Halloween candy. But she grew up surrounded by the ghosts of that night, framed photos on every surface of her aunt's house, a bedroom kept exactly as Lily left it, and the hollow ache that settled into Sarah's eyes and never quite faded. By the time Emma turned 13, she was spending weekends at the public library, reading old newspaper archives about the disappearance. She memorized the case details, studied every photograph, and even wrote her high school senior project on missing children investigations. Her parents called it an unhealthy obsession. Her aunt called it love. Now 23 and working as a freelance researcher, Emma has spent the last 5 years following auction listings, estate sales, and private collections. She's looking for anything connected to Rosewood Orphanage, school records, personal belongings, photographs, anything that might hold a clue the original investigators missed. She's bought Lily's arithmetic textbook from a church rummage sale in Portland. A wooden toy truck that once belonged to Tommy Morrison turned up at an antique mall in Sacramento. Each artifact costs her more than she can afford, but she can't stop collecting these fragments of lost lives. The portrait trembles in her hands as she walks to her car. Through the auction house's tall windows, she can see other bidders still browsing, hunting for their own treasures. They see dollar signs and investment potential. Emma sees faces. She slides into the driver's seat and places the portrait carefully on her passenger seat, angling it so she can see the children's faces in the streetlight glow. 25 children who should be 35 years old now, who should have jobs and families and mortgages and all the beautiful, ordinary problems of adult life. Instead, they're frozen at ages 5 through 16, smiling for a camera in a world that forgot them too quickly. Emma pulls out her phone and dials her aunt's number. It rings twice before Sarah picks up, her voice thick with sleep. Emma, it's past midnight, honey. Are you okay? I got it, Aunt Sarah. I got the portrait. Silence stretches across the line. Then so quietly, Emma almost misses it. Can you see her clearly? Can you see my baby girl? Emma studies Lily's face in the photograph. Those bright eyes, that gap-toothed smile the teddy bear clutched against her chest like armor. She looks just like you, Emma whispers. Emma's apartment is a shrine to the disappeared. Newspaper clippings paper one entire wall, connected by red string like a detective's conspiracy board. File boxes labeled with names stack 3 deep along her bookcases. Tommy Morrison, age 7. Sarah Blackwood, age 12. Michael Torres, age 5. Each box contains everything she's managed to collect about that child. School photos, report, cards, letters from potential adoptive families, even dental records she convinced a retired clerk to photocopy. She clears space on her kitchen table and sets the portrait down under her brightest lamp. The silver frame is heavier than modern materials, probably genuine silver from the 1920s or 30s. Intricate scrollwork decorates the corners, tarnished black with age. The glass itself is old too, hand-blown, with tiny bubbles trapped like frozen breath. But it's the photograph that draws her attention. Unlike the newspaper reproductions she studied for years, this original captures every detail with startling clarity. She can see the pattern on Sister Margaret's dress in the background, the way autumn light streams through tall windows, individual freckles on the children's faces. She pulls out her magnifying glass, a tool that's become as familiar as her coffee mug, and begins examining the image inch by inch. Front row first, the youngest children, hands folded in their laps. Sunday best cleaned and pressed. Second row, the middle kids, some smiling shyly, others grinning with confident joy. Back row, the teenagers trying to look mature and sophisticated. And there's Lily, third from the left in the back row, clutching her teddy bear named Mr. Buttons. Emma's breath catches. Along the photograph's border, barely visible against the white matting, someone has penciled tiny numbers. She adjusts the magnifying glass, squinting under the bright light. The numbers are faint, written in what looks like a child's careful script. 3 next to Tommy Morrison, 7 beside Sarah Blackwood, 15 below Michael Torres. Emma's hands start shaking. She grabs her laptop and opens the file she's compiled over years of research, a spreadsheet containing every detail she could gather about each missing child. Ages, heights, room assignments, favorite foods, bedtime routines, room assignments. Tommy Morrison, room 3, Sarah Blackwood, room 7, Michael Torres, room 15. Each penciled number corresponds exactly to the children's dormitory room numbers. Emma checks every face in the photograph. Every child has a number. 25 faces, 25 room numbers, written in pencil so light it's nearly invisible. The kind of notation that would be meaningless to anyone who didn't know the orphanage's layout. But there's something else. As she moves the magnifying glass across the image, the children's faces seem to shift slightly in the old glass, creating an optical illusion that makes them appear to blink, just for a split second, just at the edge of perception. She blinks hard and looks again. The faces are still, frozen in their permanent smiles. Emma sits back in her chair, heart racing. Someone marked this photograph. Someone who knew which child lived in which room. Someone who cared enough to create a coded record of their exact placement. She reaches for her phone to call her aunt, then stops. It's nearly 2 a.m. and Sarah needs her sleep. This discovery can wait until morning. But as she starts to set the portrait aside, she notices something else that makes her blood run cold. She leans in, but can't yet read the hidden message. The auction house receipt crumples in Emma's fist as she stares at the lot number, 47. Not random, deliberate. She's memorized every detail of the Rosewood case, including the police evidence logs. Item 47 was Sister Margaret's daily attendance book, the one where she recorded which children were present for evening prayers on October 30th, 1980. All 25 names checked off in her careful handwriting. The last record of them alive. Emma's laptop screen glows in the darkened apartment as she searches auction databases, tracking the photograph's provenance. The listing description is sparse. State lot, private collection, Cedar Falls origin. No seller name. No contact information beyond the auction house's generic email. She opens a new browser tab and types, Cedar Falls Asylum Woods Children, 1980. The search returns dozens of local forum posts, urban legend websites, and paranormal investigation blogs. Most are ridiculous, claims of ghost sightings and demonic possessions. But buried in a Cedar Falls Historical Society forum, she finds a post from 2018. My grandmother worked at Rosewood before the disappearance. She always said the children talked about the singing man who walked in the woods behind the property. Week before Halloween 3. Kids asked if they could pick berries back there for a school project. Sister Margaret said absolutely not. Those woods were off limits because of the old asylum foundations. Emma's fingers hover over the keyboard. The Hillcrest State Asylum operated from 1923 to 1967, housing patients with severe mental illness. When it closed, the building was demolished, but the foundation and underground tunnels remained. Local teenagers used to dare each other to explore the ruins until the county fenced off the area in 1979, 1 year before the children vanished. Another forum post, dated 6 months ago. I was urban exploring near the old asylum site and found fresh flowers on one of the foundation stones. 25 white roses arranged in a perfect circle. Creeped me out so bad I left immediately. Emma screenshots the post and checks the date. October 31st, 2023, the 43rd anniversary. Someone has been visiting that site every year, someone who remembers. The photograph seems to watch her from across the table, those 25 faces patient and expectant in the lamplight. The penciled numbers along the border look darker now, more insistent. She picks up her phone and scrolls to her aunt's contact, thumb hovering over the call button. Sarah deserves to know about the discovery. But at 2:30 a.m., exhausted and alone in her apartment, with only the disappeared children for company, Emma can't shake the feeling that calling would make this real in a way she's not ready. For the varnish on the old frame catches the light, creating tiny fractures that look almost like cracks in ice. We'll reveal that whispered rumor in a moment. Emma's hands shake as she turns the portrait over, examining the backing with a jeweler's loupe. The frame's construction is older than she initially thought. Hand-joined corners secured with tiny brass screws, the kind craftsmen stopped using after World War II. But it's what's hidden beneath the brown paper backing that makes her pulse quicken. Faint pencil markings, nearly invisible against the aged paper. She adjusts her desk lamp, angling it to catch the impressions left by someone's careful hand decades ago. The marks form a crude but recognizable shape. A map. A rectangle labeled RO sits at the top. Rosewood Orphanage. Below it, a series of interconnected lines snake downward like tree roots, ending at a small square marked with an X. Along one of the lines, barely legible, someone has written tunnel access. Kitchen pantry. Emma's breath catches. She grabs her phone and scrolls through her contacts until she finds Mark Davidson, a local historian who's helped her track down Rosewood artifacts before. Despite the late hour, he answers on the second ring. Emma, do you have any idea what time it is? Mark, I need you to see something. The portrait, there's a map on the back. It shows tunnels under the orphanage. Silence stretches across the line. Then, I'll be right over. 20 minutes. Later, Mark stands in Emma's kitchen, his usually neat hair disheveled from sleep. He's been researching Cedar Falls history for 30 years, knows every foundation stone and forgotten basement in the county. When he examines the map through Emma's magnifying equipment, his face goes pale. This connects to the asylum, he whispers. Hillcrest had service tunnels that ran under the entire compound. When they demolished the main building in '67, they sealed most of the entrances. But not all of them, Emma finishes. Mark nods grimly. The tunnel system was extensive, connected the asylum to the power plant, the laundry facility, even some of the staff residences. If someone knew about an unsealed entrance, Emma points to the date penciled in the corner. October 31st, 1980. Halloween night. The night 25 children walked into darkness and never returned. We need to go to the orphanage, she says. Mark's expression hardens. Emma, that place has been abandoned for decades. If there really are tunnels, they could be flooded or structurally unsound or they could finally give us answers. She's already pulling on her jacket, grabbing the heavy-duty flashlight she keeps for her urban exploration hobby. The portrait goes into her backpack, wrapped carefully in a towel. At least wait until morning, Mark pleads. We can call the authorities, get proper equipment. Someone's been visiting the asylum ruins every Halloween for 43 years, Emma interrupts. Leaving flowers, remembering. What if they're planning to go back tomorrow night? What if we miss our chance? The drive to Rosewood takes 15 minutes through empty streets. The orphanage looms against the sky like a broken tooth, its windows boarded up and roof sagging under decades of neglect. Emma parks at the rusted gate, her headlights cutting through the overgrown courtyard where children once played. The front door hangs off its hinges. Inside, their footsteps echo through halls stripped of everything valuable. Graffiti covers the walls, mostly teenage tags and crude drawings, but Emma spots something else. Fresh footprints in the dust, leading toward the back of the building. Someone's been here recently, Mark whispers. They follow the footprints through a maze of empty rooms until they reach what was once the kitchen. The industrial-sized pantry stands open, its shelves long since cleared. But there, in the back corner, barely visible beneath a wash or a pile of debris, Emma spots the outline of a trapdoor. Her flashlight beam reveals fresh scrape marks in the floor. Someone has been opening this door regularly. Mark pulls out his phone. I'm calling the police. Wait. Emma kneels beside the trapdoor, running her fingers along its edges. Look at this. Carved into the wood, so faint it's almost invisible, are 25 tiny initials. TMS, BMT, and there, near the bottom, LC, Lily Chen. Emma's vision blurs with tears. They carved their names before they went down. The trapdoor lifts easily, revealing a ladder descending into absolute darkness. The air that rises from below smells of earth and decay, but underneath it, something else. Something that makes Emma's stomach clench with recognition. The faint, sour smell of fear. he replies. That date wasn't just Halloween. Emma's phone buzzes with Mark's text. 10/31/80, same night Hillcrest patient Harold Grimm escaped custody during transport. Never. Recaptured. The pieces click together like bones settling into place. Harold Grimm, the patient who'd been scheduled for transfer to a maximum security facility after attacking 3 staff members. Harold Grimm, who'd spent 5 years in Hillcrest's isolation ward, drawing pictures of children and singing lullabies to the walls. Emma descends the ladder, her flashlight cutting through darkness, thick as velvet. The tunnel stretches in both directions, carved from living rock and lined with crumbling brick. Her light catches something white against the far wall, a child's drawing, stuck to the stone with what looks like candle wax. She approaches carefully, her heart hammering. The drawing shows a house with smoke curling from its chimney, stick figures of children playing in a yard, and a smiling sun overhead. In the corner, written in a child's careful script, "Our new home by Tommy, age 7. Emma's hands shake as she peels the drawing from the wall. Behind it, she finds another, then another. Dozens of pictures, all depicting the same scene: a house, a yard, children playing. Different artistic styles, different handwriting, but the same desperate hope translated into crayon and pencil. "We're going to live in a real house," reads one caption. "With our own rooms and a dog," says another. "The Singing Man Promised" appears on several. The Singing Man. Emma remembers the forum post about children hearing someone singing in the woods. Harold Grimm had been known for his constant humming, his off-key lullabies that echoed through Hillcrest corridors during the long night shifts. She follows the tunnel deeper, her light revealing more evidence of the children's passage. A small shoe, worn thin at the heel, a hair ribbon, yellow like the one Sarah wore in the photograph, a wooden toy truck that might have belonged to little Michael Torres. The tunnel ends at a heavy wooden door, reinforced with metal strips and secured with a padlock that hangs open. Emma pushes the door inward, and her light illuminates a horror that will haunt her forever. The room is larger than she expected, carved from natural stone and furnished like a twisted playroom. Tiny beds line the walls, each one perfectly made with clean sheets and folded blankets. Toys sit arranged on shelves. Dolls and trucks and stuffed animals, all in pristine condition. A chalkboard dominates one wall, covered with neat handwriting. Today's lessons: reading, writing, arithmetic, and how to be good children. But it's what's beneath the chalkboard that makes Emma's blood turn to ice. A second photograph, identical to the one in her backpack, except this one shows the same 25 children with their eyes blacked out with marker, their faces smeared with some dark substance that might be mud or might be something worse. Across the bottom, in the same careful script as the lessons, someone has written, "They wait below." Emma's flashlight beam wavers as she reads the words "below," not underground, further below. There's another level. What does below mean? Don't look away. Emma's scream echoes through the stone chamber as footsteps approach from the tunnel behind her. She spins around, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, and comes face to face with Mark Davidson. But something's wrong with his expression. Too calm, too knowing, like he's been expecting this moment for decades. "You shouldn't have come here alone, Mom," he says, his voice carrying a strange gentleness. "I told you to wait until morning." "Mark, thank God. You need to see this. The children, the photographs, there's another level below." "I know about the photographs, Emma. I know about everything." The flashlight slips in her sweaty grip. "What do you mean?" Mark steps into the room, his own light revealing details Emma missed in her panic. The toys on the shelves aren't dusty. They're clean, recently handled. The beds aren't just made, they're maintained. Someone has been caring for this place, preserving it like a shrine. "Harold Grimm didn't escape," Mark says quietly. "The hospital discharged him into my grandfather's care. Dr. Charles Davidson was Hillcrest's chief psychiatrist. He believed Harold could be rehabilitated with the right environment, the right motivation." Emma backs toward the far wall, her mind racing. "Your grandfather brought him here?" "My grandfather was a visionary. He saw potential in Harold. a man who genuinely loved children, who only wanted to protect them from the cruel world above. The orphanage was perfect. All those lonely children, desperate for a father figure. You're insane, Emma's voice cracks. 25 children died because of your family's experiment. Mark's face hardens. No one died, Emma. That's what you don't understand. Harold gave them something better than death. He gave them purpose. He gave them a family that would never abandon them, never send them away to strangers who might hurt them. Emma's back hits the chalkboard. Her fumbling fingers find a piece of chalk, and she grips it like a weapon. Where are they? Where are the children? Below, Mark says, gesturing toward a corner of the room, where Emma now notices a second trapdoor. This one's sealed with a newer padlock. Harold kept them safe, fed them, taught them, loved them. And when they grew too old, too questioning, he helped them find peace. You mean he killed them? I mean he preserved them. Do you know what the world does to orphans, Emma? Foster homes that abuse them, institutions that neglect them, streets that swallow them whole. Harold saved them from all of that. Emma's grip tightens on the chalk. And you've been continuing his work. Mark nods almost proudly. Someone had to. After Harold passed in 1995, someone had to maintain the memorial, leave the flowers, keep the children's story alive. My grandfather's research couldn't be wasted. You're sick. I'm dedicated, just like you, Emma. We both love those children. We both want to preserve their memory. The only difference is, I know where they actually are. Mark reaches into his jacket and pulls out a key. Old brass, worn smooth by decades of use. Would you like to see them? Would you like to finally meet your cousin Lily? Emma's world tilts. Lily's been down there for 43 years. What's left of her, what Harold Grimm and the Davidson family have done to her memory, to all of their memories. The portrait, she whispers. You planted it at the auction. You wanted me to find it. I wanted you to understand. You've spent your whole life looking for answers. Well, here they are. Every question you've ever had about that night, about what happened to those children, it's all just 20 feet below your feet. Mark approaches the second trapdoor, key extended. Come with me, Emma. Let me show you what real love looks like. Emma grips the chalk tighter, measuring the distance to the tunnel entrance. She's faster than Mark, younger, more desperate. But the darkness works against her, and she knows these tunnels better than she does. I'll scream, she says. No one will hear you. No one ever has. The key turns in the lock with a soft click that sounds like a gunshot in the stone chamber. The second trapdoor opens with a groan of rusted hinges, releasing air that smells of preservation chemicals and something else. Something sweet and wrong that makes Emma gag. Mark's T-shirt flashlight beam descends into a chamber that looks like a museum display, and Emma's sanity fractures like glass. 25 glass cases line the walls, each one containing a small figure dressed in pristine 1980s clothing. They look like they're sleeping, faces peaceful and unchanged by the decades. But Emma knows better. She knows what preservation means, what Harold Grimm's idea of love actually involved. Beautiful, aren't they? Mark whispers, his voice thick with reverence. Harold was a master taxidermist before his breakdown. He learned the techniques from his father, who prepared hunting trophies for wealthy clients. But Harold saw greater potential in the craft. Emma doubles over, retching onto the stone floor. You're monsters. You're both monsters. We're preservationists. Do you see any signs of decay? Any deterioration? Those children will look exactly the same in another 100 years. They'll never grow old, never suffer, never die. What parent wouldn't want that for their child? Emma straightens, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. Through her tears, she can see the case closest to her. A small placard reads Thomas Morrison, age 7, room 3. The boy's face is exactly as she remembers from the photograph. Gap-toothed smile, freckled cheeks, eyes that should be sparkling with life, but instead hold only the glassy stare of death. Lily, she chokes out. Where's Lily? Mark's beam moves across the cases until it stops at the far end of the room. Lily Chen, Age 8, room 21. She was the last one Harold processed. He said she fought the hardest, which made her preservation more challenging. Emma forces herself to walk toward the case, each step feeling like a mile. When she reaches it, she sees what Mark means. Unlike the others, Lily's face shows signs of trauma. A bruised jaw, a cut on her forehead, tear tracks down her cheeks that the embalming fluid couldn't quite erase. She tried to run, Mark explains, made it almost to the tunnel entrance before Harold caught her. He felt terrible about the rough handling, but she would have brought the authorities. She would have ruined everything. Emma's grief transforms into something harder, sharper. She turns to face Mark, no longer the terrified woman who descended into these tunnels. You want to preserve their story? Then help me tell it. Help me bring them home to their families. Mark shakes his head. That would destroy everything Harold built, everything my grandfather envisioned. These children are safe here. They're loved here. They're dead here. They're eternal here. Emma reaches into her pocket and pulls out her phone. She's been recording since the moment Mark revealed his family's secret. Every confession, every sick justification, every detail of this underground horror, it's all captured on video. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you did, she says. I'm going to make sure those children get proper burials, proper memorials. I'm going to make sure their families finally get closure. Mark's expression shifts from reverence to rage. You don't understand. You can't understand. You've never loved anyone enough to want to preserve them forever. I love Lily enough to want justice for her. Then you'll love her enough to join her. Mark lunges forward, but Emma is ready. She sidesteps and swings the heavy flashlight, connecting with his temple. He stumbles, blood streaming down his face, and she runs for the ladder. Behind her, the cases seem to watch her escape with their glassy, eternal eyes. Then, a distant lullaby begins to play. Emma's hands shake as she dials 911 from her car, the recording still running on her phone. The dispatcher's voice sounds impossibly far away as she tries to explain what she's found beneath Rosewood Orphanage. 25 children, 43 years, a family conspiracy that spans 3 generations. Within minutes, the night fills with sirens and flashing lights. FBI agents, county sheriff's deputies, paramedics, and forensic specialists descend on the abandoned orphanage like a carefully orchestrated invasion. Emma sits wrapped in a blanket on the hood of a patrol car, watching teams of investigators disappear into the building she barely escaped. Mark Davidson is taken into custody, blood still trickling from his head wound, muttering about preservation and eternal love. The arresting officers have to drag him away from the orphanage. Entrance as he screams about disturbing Harold's work. FBI Special Agent Patricia Reyes sits beside Emma, her voice gentle but professional. The recording you made is going to be crucial evidence. You probably saved dozens of other potential victims. I didn't save the ones who mattered, Emma whispers. I was 43 years too late. You gave them their voices back. You gave their families answers. As dawn breaks over Cedar Falls, the recovery teams begin their delicate work. Each child is photographed, documented, and carefully removed from their glass prison. Coroner's vans line the street like a funeral procession, and Emma watches through her tears as 25 body bags are loaded with the reverence the children should have received decades ago. Her phone rings. Aunt Sarah. Emma, I saw the news. They're saying you found them? I found her, Aunt Sarah. I found Lily. The sob that comes through the phone is 43 years in the making. Can I see her? Emma looks toward the orphanage where crime scene tape flutters in the morning breeze. She's coming home. They're all coming home. The memorial service is held 3 weeks later in Cedar Falls Community Park. 25 white coffins, each one surrounded by flowers and photographs and teddy bears, left by a community that never forgot. The families that remain, parents now in their 70s and 80s, siblings who grew up in the shadow of loss, finally have something to bury. Emma stands beside Lily's grave as the last of the mourners disperse. The headstone is simple. Lily Chen, beloved daughter and cousin, age 8, 1972 to 1980. Aunt Sarah places a worn teddy bear on the fresh earth, Mr. Buttons, the one Lily clutched in the school photograph. She can have him back now, she whispers. The teddy bear sits sentinel over the grave, its button eyes reflecting the late afternoon sun. After 43 years of searching, Lily Chen is finally home. The Rosewood Orphanage stands empty now, its windows boarded up and doors sealed by court order. The tunnels beneath have been filled with concrete, the underground chambers destroyed by controlled demolition. But the building itself remains, a monument to the children who called it home and the evil that took them away. Emma visits Lily's grave every month, bringing fresh flowers and updates about her life. She's written a book about the case, The Children Below, the Rosewood Orphanage. Murders, with all proceeds going to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The families of the victims have thanked her for giving them closure, but Emma knows that some wounds never fully heal. Mark Davidson was sentenced to life in prison without parole for his role in concealing the murders and maintaining the underground shrine. During his trial, he showed no remorse, insisting until the end that he was preserving the children's memory. His grandfather's research papers, found in the family basement, revealed the true scope of the horror. Detailed notes about Harold Grimm's preservation techniques and plans to expand the operation to other orphanages. The case has become a touchstone for discussions about institutional failures and the vulnerability of children in the foster care system. New protocols have been implemented for monitoring caregivers, and the Rosewood Memorial Fund provides support for aging out foster children. But late at night, when Emma drives past the orphanage on her way home from work, she sometimes sees a light flickering in the basement windows. She knows it's just reflections from passing cars, or maybe the security system the county installed. But part of her wonders if 25 spirits are still walking those halls, finally free to play and laugh and be children again. The building's shadow stretches long across Maple Hill, a reminder that some stories end not with justice, but with memory, that some mysteries are solved not to bring the lost back home, but to ensure they're never forgotten again. In the basement of the sealed orphanage, shadows dance on empty walls, and the faint echo of children's laughter drifts through rooms where silence has reigned for 43 years. What truly happened in those hidden rooms? And will we ever bring every child home?